Welcome back to another episode of Straight from the CPA's Mouth. I'm Meredith Allen with the CPA Education Foundation, and I will be your host for this episode. Mental health. It is something that all Canadians will contend with in some degree over their lifetime. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, in any given year, 1 in 5 people in Canada will personally experience a mental health problem or illness. By age 40, about 50% of Canadians will have or have had a mental illness. The rates are concerning, and mental health has never been more important for Canadians than now. On January 28, 2021, Canada will celebrate its 10th anniversary of Bell Let's Talk, a campaign dedicated to moving mental health forward by engaging Canadians to take action and create positive change in mental health. Since its implementation in 2010, a recent survey conducted by Nielsen Consumer Insights in 2019 showed that 84% of Canadians now say they are comfortable speaking with others about mental health, compared to only 42% in 2012. We are moving in a positive direction and closer to the goal of creating a less stigmatized and more accepting society when it comes to mental health. Joining me today is Danielle Aquin, a CPA candidate who is completing her practical experience at Metrics Group accounting firm in Edmonton, Alberta, and also a recent successful writer of the Common Final Examination for CPA Professional Education Program. For those of you unfamiliar with this exam, the Common Final Examination, also known as the CFE, is a 3-day examination all aspiring CPAs must successfully complete. It's a huge turning point in their career and a major accomplishment. As a CPA candidate who has been studying, working, and accomplishing significant achievements during a global pandemic, Danielle is here to talk about her experience working through a professional program and the importance of finding balance, seeking support, and talking about struggles. I would like to preface by saying that neither of us are mental health experts, nor a professional in the field. Today's conversation focuses on the power of communication and how we can help one another simply by talking. So let's talk.
150,000 new businesses are created in Canada each year, but only
emotional intelligence is a critical skill for leaders. How do I develop
artificial intelligence will take over analytics, big data, trend analysis?
Hearing that Alberta needs to diversify its economy, but how do we do that?
Create new opportunities for young innovators.
Businesses account for 77% of all private jobs
traded
created in
companies.
Canada.
Filter out the noise. Hear it straight from the CPA's mouth.
Welcome to the show, Danielle. I am so happy that you're able to join me today for this conversation. We've known each other for over 5 years, and I have been one of many witnesses to your journey in becoming a CPA. Congratulations again for passing the CFE. How do you feel?
I'm really excited. It's still a little bit unbelievable that it's all over after 2 years, but yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, it's a really good feeling.
This is a very special episode for me, I have to say, because like I said, I've known you for many, many years. And to have this opportunity for you to engage from the professional side of myself and connecting with CPA Education Foundation is fantastic. So, your experience, I think, has certainly shaped how you view your working experience in the profession as a whole. So tell me about, your experience as a CPA candidate over the last 2 years. And specifically, your moment, what was the moment like when you were preparing to write and then the pandemic hit?
So to answer your first question, right out of university, you apply for all of these jobs and then you accept a new full-time position. And with that comes a very steep learning curve. And so not only are you dealing with that, but in my case, this was also my first time moving out on my own without any roommates. So there's all those responsibilities that kind of entails while trying to work through the CPA program and all the modules, the quizzes. And so all 3 of those things for my first year specifically, it was a lot to handle. And so I struggled, I struggled my first year and it was really challenging. but it pushed me to become stronger and more confident in myself. So my first year, I started working at one of the bigger firms in Edmonton. And then my second year, I decided to switch to a more mid-sized firm. And this was just a little bit of a better fit for me, just because I do prefer small business and personal tax. And so I think like you really need to find like your fit and what you're looking for, whether that's auditing, small business, or tax, and just find that avenue and go with it. And if it's not for you, you can always change. And with your second question, I mean, you're so close to this goal and you finally get to this point and you've made all of these sacrifices the last 2 years. And then there's now this possibility of writing the CFE may not be possible. And so being in that limbo of not knowing was really hard, just because now if that exam is deferred, maybe like the content's not going to be as fresh. You're going to have to try and take another 2 months off a year later, and then this like accounting standards might change. So it was overwhelming, but I mean, I had a lot of support.
Well, it's it's interesting, the emotional roller coaster, I'll call it, that you went through. I mean, 2 years, it's a very tough program. And I can tell you're really passionate, just knowing you personally, for the profession itself. And what's interesting about your experience is that you have very special connection to the profession as well, and working with small businesses and working as at Metrics Group. Your unique connection, which is your father, Ron Aquin, a CPA and partner at Metrics Group accounting firm, and your twin sister Devin as well as a candidate. So as you're going through the last 2 years, or even preparing for those 2 years in this program, how did these family ties impact you?
Yeah, so like it's had a really profound impact on me and my experience throughout the last 2 years. Having my dad go through this program, he was able to give me a lot of really good advice and support based off of his experience. And the big thing he always told me is don't be scared going into these exams. The moment you show up scared, you're not going to do well. And just be very confident in the process that's taken you to get to this point. The program is designed to build you up into a really successful professional. So trust the experience and go into the exam confident. And if you fail, you're not going to be the first and you definitely won't be the last, but take what you learned from that and then move on. So having him has been really significant. Like to have him in my corner is really significant. And being able to also ask questions and have him explain concepts to me in a way that I would have a better understanding over was also really, really nice to have that. And then with my sister Devin, we've been going through school together since kindergarten. And so we've developed a really good foundation of studying together and supporting each other. And you go through this program and a lot of people won't have that kind of understanding of exactly what you're going through. So to have her in my corner was amazing. And she also, I'm not going to lie, she explained more concepts to me than I to her, but it worked for us because when you explain something to someone, you're also helping yourself study that information. So I was really, really fortunate with the experience that I did have in that support system.
Absolutely. And I like what your dad said about, don't be scared of the exams. They're meant to prepare you. They're meant to push you forward and for the profession itself. And having people in your corner, that's incredibly important as well. And in your case, having people that is going through the exact same experience with you, as you mentioned with Devin, and your dad, who has had all years of experience, and now as a partner with the accounting firm that you're working for. So thinking back to summer 2020, preparing to write that CFE, how did you take care of yourself during that time? I mean, you mentioned before that, you had people to support you and you had people to lean on when you needed that. But what did you do for yourself to ensure that you were successful? Do you have any tips that you can share with our listeners today?
So yeah, like coming off of tax season and how busy we were with everything that happened with the pandemic, I thought it was really important for me to kind of take some time off before diving deep into studying. And so the first 2 weeks of my 2-month study break, I actually took off. So the first week I went up to high level and stayed with my boyfriend's family. And I did do some studying. It wasn't as intense. And then the second week, I actually went to my family's cabin. And it really was important for me because I was able to relax and kind of recharge so I wouldn't burn out. And then coming off of that, our study group, we studied 5 days a week from about 8:30 until 5 for the rest of it. And so I think, like, depending on you, I think that that's like something that was really helpful for me. And then just staying mentally fit, I think it's really important to get outside and move your body. And so working out for me, doing yoga, meditating, and then also being adjusted, just because I don't know about anyone else, but when I'm studying, I'm in the worst possible position ever. And so having that, just like taking care of your body and yeah, whatever works for you. Like if you want to read, if you want to listen to podcasts, talk, like get together with friends, you know what works best for you. And so just like make sure you implement that like on the weekends when you're not studying, just so that you don't get burnt out.
Absolutely. Staying mentally fit, we always think about, the physical side to our body, especially when we are going through the process of change or we're going through a difficult situation. And it's important to focus on our mental health. And I think that's what, we as Canadians are starting to prioritize more. Maybe that is reducing our screen time. Maybe it is putting some boundaries up, finding balance. And you mentioned before about being adjusted and specifically, having a partner who's a chiropractor is actually great, is fantastic because it does allow you to have that support at home about, just in general overall wellness. So it's really great to hear. And I think, for future candidates in your situation or colleagues moving forward, what would you have changed to better support your mental well-being? And that could be through university at MacEwan, or that could be through the program itself or currently working with your colleagues. What would you have done to alter your situation to support your mental health better?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think what I would have done differently is like build a better foundation and like start creating like really good habits and routines now before the pressure of the next 2 years. Because if you don't have that foundation, it'll be really hard to maintain. And that's something I really struggled with my first year of the program, because I didn't take like the time that I had to work out and move my body or to take that break. And so I think just building that strong foundation and those good habits is going to be really significant for students coming into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, for the last 2 years, you were part of a large cohort of CPA candidates. And many times you would spend hours. You mentioned before your studying period would be from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. on any given day. And you would also be working with, say, a group of 4 people or more. That is difficult right there. So you all are experiencing the same emotions, the same stressors, struggles with going through this program. So what did you learn about helping others with their struggles with mental health?
Always like be there for like your group, for your friends. Don't try not to judge them. Don't compare yourself to them, because I don't think your situation is ever going to be the same. I mean, people deal with stress differently. And so you may find this program easier than others, but don't let like anyone discount your feelings and just be mindful and like listen. Yeah, I think like especially like discounting other people's experiences, like you never really want to compare.
Absolutely. It's a rigorous process becoming a CPA. So, for any of our listeners right now that might be potential, CPA candidates, or might be a mature listener who wants to change their careers, what advice would you provide to them in respect to mental well-being?
I think like the biggest thing for me is like I feel like everyone should just sit down and try and determine like what do you value and like what are your long-term goals and where do you want to be. There's this podcast I listened to and she mentioned like value what you want most over what you want now. So you may have to walk away from situations that don't add value. You may need to say no to certain events, like going out with friends. And then making sure that you surround yourself with like-minded people. You want to let go of the people who are holding you back and aren't pushing you forward. And so when you determine that, and if this is something that you really, really want and you want to strive for, just be like really disciplined. And then also, I mean, you have like a vast amount of resources, whether you're working at a public firm or if you're working in the industry, there are people around you who have gone through the program and will offer advice if you ask. And if you don't have that, then even the CPA program itself, there's like mentors that you can email or other CPA candidates' emails are available. So you can reach out and there is a lot of resources. So I would just keep that in mind. You're not going through this alone. And so many people in the profession are so willing to help. So yeah, don't be scared to reach out.
You're absolutely right, Danielle. For anyone who is starting a new career, are in high school, moving into post-secondary, planning out their lives, there are supports available. And for those interested in the accounting profession as a whole, CPA Alberta has the support there for students to get to their next steps. And I think that's really important. Now, you have a very long and exciting road ahead in your career. And, I want to know what your thoughts are about mental health in the professional world for young people like yourself who are really just starting out their careers. The mental health is changing. The stigma is slowly going away, that we're more accepting of everyone's mental health journey. And, where would you specifically like to see change within the professional world?
Yeah, so in my experience, I think mental health, being able to talk with it and discuss it with employees is getting a lot better. It's not as judgmental and people are really understanding. And even, I don't know, I'm not familiar with like other benefits packages, but ours in particular, you are able to see a therapist and that's included in your packages, which I think is a great step. And yeah, I think we're moving in a really positive direction. You have support within the office, and I think being able to have a mentor to talk to and to like if you're struggling, if you're feeling burnt out, just to have that person there in your corner, I think it would be really, really great.
Well, if you think about it, we spend a lot of time with our colleagues, whether in a virtual environment like right now, or, pre-pandemic days where we would be in the office or in school for 8 to 9 hours a day working with people, and having that ability to be open and honest and, have a space that is free of judgment is really important. We have all worked incredibly hard to get where we are in our careers, and changing the environment within our professional world is also incredibly important to focus on and move towards. And I agree with you. I think we are moving in a positive direction. Danielle, thank you so much for joining the conversation and sharing your experiences about mental health. On behalf of the CPA Education Foundation, we look forward to welcoming you to the profession as a CPA. You have worked incredibly hard to get where you are today. Now, before I let you go, what is one thing that you have been dreaming of doing once you have your designation?
Not studying? No. But with the accounting profession, you're always going to continue learning, and you have your professional development courses. Standards are always going to be changing. So I think mostly I'm looking forward to is just kind of growing and finding my niche and what I'm really passionate about. And right now, I think that direction is kind of just delving more into personal tax and trying to obtain a better understanding of that and all of the complex rules that surround it. And then with my boyfriend being a chiropractor, I would really like to try and get a lot of chiropractors on as clients and help them to support their business and grow, and just helping people, I think, really is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure you and I might be engaging in our own gardening course for the summer, which I'm really looking forward to. Well, we are just really looking forward for you to start your next steps in your career. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
This episode of Straight from the CPA's Mouth featured Danielle Aquin, CPA candidate for Metrics Group Accounting, successful CFE writer on her way to her designation as a CPA. Don't forget to subscribe to Straight from the CPA's Mouth mailing list for exclusive content. If you or someone you care about is struggling with their mental health, please reach out to a trusted source for support. Resources are linked on our website. For CPAs and CPA candidates, support is available through CPA Assist, an assistance and wellness program providing confidential counseling services and 24/7 crisis support to Alberta and Saskatchewan CPA candidates and their immediate families. As always, if you have any ideas for future episodes or have any feedback you would like to share, email us at knowledgecenter@cpaalberta.ca or leave us a comment on social media.
Straight from the CPA's Mouth is brought to you by the CPA Education Foundation. The CPA Education Foundation is the charitable arm of the Alberta CPA profession, providing up to $1.2 million each year in support of business and accounting education in the province. This podcast is just one of many resource materials available through the HESHI CPA Knowledge Center. This virtual hub features Alberta CPAs sharing their unique perspective and vast expertise on topics and issues such as leadership, finance, entrepreneurship, and more. Visit cpaalberta.ca/foundation for more information on the HESHI CPA Knowledge Center and to learn how Alberta CPAs inspire success.